Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. What I will say, though, is while I'm very glad that the person that was arguably responsible for some of the largest, driving some of the most amounts of death threats and violent threats, not just to my office, but to plenty of people across the country, I also kind of feel like I'm like waiting for the cutscene at the end of a Marvel movie after all the credits have rolled, and then you see like the villain's like hand reemerge out to grip over like the end of a building or something. But deplatforming works, and it is important, and there you go. Good things can happen.
So, Brad, do you think deplatforming works for Tucker Carlson? Let's be serious.
No, I mean, I think it's possible that he'll go independent and start reaching more people than ever before. You think like his show on Fox was getting, I think, 2 million-ish a night, which is really good for cable news. But Joe Rogan gets multiple times more than that. And I think he could build a Joe Rogan style independent new media empire. He's such a big name. The idea that he's being deplatformed, wherever he goes, he'll have a massive audience. It might even end up being bigger, which happens sometimes because when you censor somebody, you make them seem cool and off limits and like why don't they want you to hear what I have to say and everything. It also just strikes me as so inappropriate for a government official to be cheering. And I'm sure Trump did this, actually, cheered about like people getting canned or fired or whatever as well. But for a government official to be like celebrating or calling for media members to be fired and to lose their platform and everything isn't a literal violation of the First Amendment, but it's certainly against those principles, right? That we should have a firewall between the government and the press. But she doesn't care about that. And she's just so glib about it. But I don't think it works. And I also, you know what, like, do you want your people deplatformed, right? Do you want them to come for your media allies? It's just so short-sighted. And also, I reject the idea that Tucker is responsible for any viewers who sent her death threats, because though, you know who's responsible for that? Those viewers. They have agency. They're individuals, and they should be prosecuted for it or whatever. But unless Tucker actually said anything to the extent of, please do this, you can't blame him for other people's actions. Like, I hate this principle of like transposition from one person onto another, the responsibility of something bad. That's like saying Bernie Sanders has a moral obligation because or guilt from the Capitol baseball game shooting because that guy was a Bernie Sanders person who hated the Republicans because of Bernie Sanders' talking points about healthcare. He doesn't. The only person with moral culpability there is that crazy shooter. It's not Bernie's fault. He never told anyone to go hurt anyone. And in the same vein, it's not Tucker's fault if a few out of his millions of viewers are crazy and do crazy things. And the whole thing, it makes me want to barf, this whole video.
Yeah, I think it's absurd. Unless Tucker's saying, send AOC death threats. He's not responsible for people sending you death threats just because he covers the idiotic things that you say and do. And I think that that's a problem, is that she doesn't think anybody should be able to actually call her out or say what she does is stupid. And when there's necessary blowback to some of that, and I don't think death threats are necessary blowback, but you are going to get blowback as a politician and people shouting you down and telling you and condemning your actions, she equates all of that with violence and things that shouldn't happen. Like, ma'am, you ran for office. You are going to be held accountable. People are going to scrutinize the things that you do. Now, again, death threats are a line that should never be crossed, but that's already illegal, and that is the responsibility of those crazy people who are doing that. And I'm sure actions taken against them. If you write death threats to a sitting politician, guess what? You don't just get to go off into the sunset. Usually you get pretty heavily investigated by the FBI. That's not Tucker Carlson's fault. I think that is just an absurd allegation. I agree with you. It's really disgusting that we're at a point where politicians are openly condemning free speech or openly attacking the free press. And that doesn't really give you very bad vibes. You don't know history very well at all, because these are often the true signs that a country is beginning to have a demise, and that you are seeing more and more elements of fascism and fascism ideas seeping into the government's ideology. And it says that they're not really all that afraid of the people or the courts at this point when they are openly threatening the press like this. Fox News is the largest cable news company, and it's not even particularly close. They're very wealthy, they're very powerful, and yet politicians are openly going after them. That really shows you why the plight of somebody like Julian Assange is so bleak, because people who don't have the same amount of resources to stand up to people like this really don't stand a fighting chance for long if we keep moving in this direction. So it's all very, very problematic. But I also think the thing with people like AOC is that she loves deplatforming because she can't actually argue the ideology, right? She can't actually defend her beliefs. She can't stand up for anything. So her only recourse is to try to deplatform and silence people. Now, like you said, that doesn't work. It actually usually gives their views more credence, more interest, because you've made it, edgy and banned and cool. People want to find out what they're saying. So I don't think this kind of thing will ultimately hurt Tucker Carlson. I think he'll be a very wealthy and successful commentator no matter what he chooses to do next. But I think that speaks volume about the far left's inability to actually defend their ideas. And instead of being able to actually have debates and work through things, they just want to silence people. And they rest in the assurance that I think they feel they have, that they will maintain the majority of the country and that they'll always be the ones on top. That, of course, can't be true forever. I will say, though, it's probably going to be true for the next couple decades if Republicans don't get their act together, because they're acting a fool on the other side, too. And so it's bad news for the country as a whole, but I think very short-sighted.